Now, I don't know, I may be missing something about my logic. There's a statement we have in recovery which says, abandon yourself to God. Yeah. So abandon yourself. And to abandon, people know what the meaning is. I guess we could look up the definition. But, see, if you can't abandon yourself, you'd be there, right? I mean, if you left yourself at a door, at a doorstop, whatever, you'd be there when the door opened. You can't abandon you. Like, and we were sharing earlier when we were younger, running around here in San Francisco. We used to have beaters, and then we weren't legal drivers. So when we'd have a little run into a tree or something, we just abandoned the car. Because you can walk away, the car would be left and you'd be somewhere else. So to me, the idea of abandoning yourself, now the guy who wrote that may have meant something else, but the way I see it is, all right, you're abandoning really what you're not over to this power that is, you want to call it God or higher power. So, and the your is important because it's not abandoning self because there isn't one, but there's abandoning yourself. And basically, you're masquerading as the self. Yeah, I mean, so you're abandoning the owning of the self over to that other power. Yeah, higher power. And so, like Ramana would say, there's two methodologies really. Who am I? Self-inquiry or surrender. So surrender would be, hey, I'm pretty much outmatched. Thy will be done. Yeah, so sort of live like that, ask you who is that is outmatched. Yeah, so you could go that way. So because all you want to see, in a way, is what's seeing, and you can't. So you knock on the door 500 times at a house, you're pretty sure there's no one home. You don't have to, you know what I mean? If someone was home, they would have come up by now. So. You don't have to keep going. And then Ramana would say, at least how I read it, you would ask the inquiry, and then when you had that sense of arriving at that which is seeing, then no more asking, who is it that's arrived at that seeing? Just enjoy it. Abide there. And then, if the mental state seems to attract the attention and you feel like you've gone, let's say up the S of self. He didn't say that one, but you've gone. Then you could ask, well, who is it that's up the S of self, basically? And then what would happen? Maybe the head would say me, and maybe you press it a little bit. Well, who is this me? And then so the attention, which is used to being sent out, the mental state sort of shoots it like an arrow, yeah? To have it just pause, and then it doesn't have to go this way, it just looks this way, and asks, who am I? Yeah, or from whence do I come? There's ways of saying it. So, and what happens is a pause occurs, obviously, because there's no one home, and so the big assumption is assuming like you're the master of the manor or whatever, but there's nobody there. And then it really pulls the rug out of the idea of the interpretation of noun and verb, yeah, which is what we're in most of the time. So most of us, the system produces a noun and verb narration. I say there's only verbing, yeah, but the mental state uses the verbing to imply a noun. And it's such a trip. It's really cool. It's cool to see because there's verbing, then there's a claiming of verbing, and then the verbing implies a noun, which obviously arises after the verbing. But then the noun thinks it's doing the verbing. It's incredible. Yeah? It's beautiful, really, if you see it. So that which is doing is not because there's no self, but let's say that which is doing the self gets claimed by the self to be what it's doing. Yeah? So we have the perfect illustration, we use it at this meeting a lot, where people try to tell us, say, hey, all right, let's call selfing Pauling, and let's call self Paul. So how much is Paul Pauling on a bad day? So, all right, maybe 70%. Wow. How much is Paul Pauling on a good day? Maybe 10%. And you could go on, and so where's the demarcation where it's a good or bad, whatever. But it's just an assumption that there's Paul, the noun doing the pawing, where it's pawing that implies the paw. Yeah? I mean, don't you think that would be an important point to be clear about? Because it's the starting of everything, really. From the narration starts from the point of view of a noun. It does. It doesn't start on a verb. It doesn't. The verbing is claimed to imply the noun, and then the noun precedes all the verbing. Yeah. Let's say if there was like 800 million links in this chain, I would think that would be an important link. Yeah? Wait a minute. I've got it asked backwards. I'm thinking the noun's doing the verbing, but the verbing is used to imply the noun. And it's the same way. I'm trying to get into a moment I can't be out of, and I'm trying to get out of what I can't be in, which is I'm trying to get out of a noun as a noun. Self can't get out of self. Well, I think that, I would imagine it would throw like, a wrench in the works. So hopefully there'd be a pause sufficient enough for some things to, shake out. Maybe the horse is in front of the cart. Yeah, then, like Zen, they say blue will be blue, red will be red. Things get clear. Not because you've done anything or you've worked it out or you're vigilantly doing. Just the obscuring clears up on its own in a sense, or because you are its own, really. Yeah, without any thought effort. It's relying on seeing, not doing. Now, on certain levels of the action figure, you've got to rely on doing for a period of time, like recovery. But when you get to the mind, it's seeing. Yeah, seeing. So you see activities. And then it just informs you of a lot of stuff. Yeah. Instead of the same old information going down the same old chute, pinging the same old memories and comparisons and prejudices and biases, it's different. Like if you could, it's not this way, but let's say you've been fed horizontally, information, and suddenly you're fed vertically. Something just shoots in, yeah? And so, just to see a different picture. And so, boom, 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 and then this is just this long, and it just circles back, and really, basically, there's just rehashing, re-seeing, rehearing, re-feeling, re-tasting, re-touching. It just goes back and back. Changes maybe scenery, and then dates go by, so you think, but really, the train hasn't left the station. The scenery's moving, maybe. You're just sitting there, I'm afraid of the same thing. I'm worried, whatever. And then they say in recovery, hey, you got to get to the exact nature of the wrong. Why? Because if you don't, the wrong is going to proceed. It's going to proceed and mutate and grow and geometrically progress because it's got a lot of space to appear in and it has a lot of time to do a lot of appearing in. Yeah, it's in the dreaming. Yeah, so that's why it's important to get to have the horse in front of the cart. And in fact, it's always been that way. It never wasn't that way. But we can see it differently. We, with the magic, bifocals of subject-object and time and space, we can see false evidence appearing real. Yeah? To the point where we now take the false evidence that is appear real to be us, and now we believe we're seeing. So now the false evidence has claimed to be the seed. So it goes, I gotta find the truth. And so it uses the false evidence appearing real to find the truth. Good luck. The only truth you need is that's false evidence appearing real. Everything else will shake out but if that isn't seen, you'll be looking from it, and it's going to leave its little mark everywhere. Yes. then you'll want to get out of what you can't be in. You want to try to get into what you can't be out. You'll be living like in a bizarro world. Thinking thought and effort is going to bring you to that which demonstrates no thought and effort. Thought and effort would be sort of like if God was 50 yards away and there was an incline, then yeah, there'd be some thought, thought and effort to get up there. But in fact, I don't see, just don't see the value in thought and effort. If that which, the closest I can get to, I would say what we are, would be consciousness in contact, Consciousness being itself, verbing, is being in contact, touching. Hey, I'm aware of things. You know what I mean? I'm saddled with only 5 little portals, but in those portals, what's behind them isn't 5. It isn't like a quarter to. It's not like my data runs out if I don't pay. I don't know, where would you send the check? There's being, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and I just never seen any thought or effort around that. I haven't. So I just can't make sense out of how thought and effort would bring us to that which demonstrates no thought and effort. I just don't see it. Now I think there's thought and effort when you're fighting with it amongst yourself, in a sense, in here. The action figure, is in its little false evidence jungle with its made-up machete, and so there's, for it to convince itself that it's okay just to be okay, it has to seem to play out a lot of thought and effort until they desist all the things it's used exhausted themselves, and you realize, fuck, everything has failed, and that's the value of them. Yeah. But I don't think it's like, I think it has its time and place, but I don't think it's the way. The way is of thought and effort. The more thought and the more effort, the more there's a way. I need, if I'm using that which puts me into the way into something, I'm gonna look for the way out of something using the same shit. And why would it be so bad just to be what you're seeming to appear to be? I mean, really. See, this is it. I feel like when I go and do talks at certain groups, not all of them, that I need to really explain myself because I do not have any spiritual interest. This isn't a subtle spiritual path to me. I don't care about transcending at all. Zippo. I don't care about elevation. I don't care about anything. I mean, totally. Either it's been totally successful or my real qualities after taking all the shine off of spirituality was, I don't give a shit, really. Just gonna, it's fine. Really, because some people think, oh, you're arriving there smoothly. No, I mean, I don't punch it in to the GPS. It's been deleted, all those maps. Just like thrift stores, I have maps to, coffee, shit, beaches. Yes, definitely. So, yeah. And I don't have what I thought I was going to get. What I thought I was going to get was a whole lot of me, but elevated and transcendent and shiny and bright. A lot of power. Maybe I can even do certain things, whatever. There was something, had some power had to do with it that I could wield in my super spiritual form. But no, it's totally ordinary, completely ordinary. Yeah. I was at this thing, this group in Virginia that are very into spirituality, I think. And so there was a little magic marker with it because a lot of people had notebooks and pads, So before the talk started, I just walked up there and I said, "You don't have to do this anymore." I didn't say anything. Just put a big exclamation point, sat down. So you don't have to do it anymore. They're like, what is the cryptic meaning of that? It means, there's no cryptic meaning. Knock the fuck off. And I said to them, you're like spiritual sadomasochists. I mean, you keep inviting me back. And I just keep telling you. Yeah. So, this idea of abandoning oneself, the only way I see it is you can only abandon something other than you. I don't see how you can abandon you. Yeah. I don't. You'd be there. I mean, I'm finished with you. I'm going to abandon you. And it would be you, there. You couldn't escape, yeah. So I like the idea that what we can abandon is not us. And if that which is not us does not even exist, there's no need to abandon it, you see, because the salvation from it is inherent, because it never existed, you see. So you don't even have to vanquish and then return to the grave to see it resurrected. It never was existing, yeah. You're the only thing that propped it up, really. Yes, you're all there is. So that wish, if I could only get over that giant obscuring agent, I would be saved. Well, then you're fucking saved. You're past being saved. You don't need to be saved. Really, yeah. But the drenching of time, see, time gives it like this flavor. There's only a few more things that get purified, but it's us adding time on to timelessness. It's already a done deal in a sense. You've never really even been here. It's just dreaming, yeah? And how can you say it is? It's like 80 years at the most, 90 years, 100 years. And then it seems to collapse in itself like That's why I remember one time I overdosed in North Beach. I used to overdose in nice little areas of San Francisco. North Beach, Potrero Hill, North Beach. Usually, hopefully, near hospitals. That was important. St. Francis saved me that time. So I was in the bed. I'd done some cocaine, which I was used to. My friend who used to do cocaine with me had moved to heroin. And so he gave me some heroin, and he had a habit. I didn't, so he gave me too much. So I overdosed. But when I was laying there in this room, it was really, you usually feel pretty good physically on heroin, So you feel pretty chill. So I was laying like this, looking at the corner of the room, because I like corners, And just looking, suddenly, I do. What can I say? What? I was looking at the corner, and then the whole room just went sucked in, and this sucked in. So I thought this was going to stay, but this sucked into somewhere. And then they brought me back. It took a while. I had left the bed, and they had to call up the ambulance, and then the ambulance showed up, and they give you this stuff that takes up the effects of heroin away, Narcan. So they shot me up, they brought me back. But what I was trying to say is when this disappeared, it was like it was never there. I mean, nor was I. And then it was brought back, just sort of like someone reversed the vacuum, sucked back this, the scene, really. So put on reverse, sucked back in the scene. Yeah. But the feeling I had when I came back was, this has nothing to do with whatever this is. Yeah, this is like a passing little, like a thin, it's sort of like a surface of the water, like this. You know what I mean? Surface of a pond, just flipping it over. So you see it, this angle, not this plane, because then you wouldn't even notice it. But now you see it, and it's got all this data streaming, dreaming, yeah? And then it's gonna be like that, and it won't be like it was ever anything that. I'm not saying that's the way it is. It's a picture of it now. So this whole idea of the message to me, and I've been pounding it away, 11 talk in 12 days, whatever. So you can see I'm a little over it in a way, but I'm not in a way. I'm so into it, you look like you're over it. Yeah? Because it gets simpler and simpler. I really believe, because you've got something, you've got some energy, you have energy, you've done tons of shit. Amelia is beautifully
saying.
Yeah, she doesn't have. She is where people want to arrive at. She has no signs of any spirituality. Which is a compliment. Which is a compliment. Hello. Good. And then Nick, you've got juice, and I'm just supposing you have a nice thing. Yeah. So there's all of you got the juice. Yes. You know, like we say in AA, you have to be willing to go to any lengths. And it really doesn't have to do with the lengths, it's the willingness. So it doesn't have to do with the path or anything. You have it, you know, energetically. Yeah, you are. So this is appropriate to share that, you know, you could slow up the pace. You're not getting anywhere. Like the moving sidewalk doesn't lead it, you know, you're not going anywhere. It has a sense of movement and going, but it's dreaming. Yeah, so, and we can't lose. If you want to take the beautiful statement of the Course, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We're going to dream ourselves out of the dream. And as we do, the dream will get happier. And also, it's going to end. It's not like it's going to go happy eternally. The dream's going to end. Your dreaming will end. But it'll end on a sort of high note. Might as well go out, you know, happy and kicking and screaming. Yeah. So, what's there to ruminate about? Like the bet's in. It's already done. Being what we are, that can't be lost through identification, even in this little bit of time with what you're not. Nothing gets lost. It's just seemingly obscured by that which the only thing that could obscure what we are is what we are, really. Nothing else. How could an illusion fool reality? Reality will see right through it. But reality, dreaming illusion, can be fooled. Because that's its intent in a sense, yeah? It's dreaming, yeah? So, I feel if you really start sensing what's being offered, it should bring a certain ease and comfort because you know there are these different paces, like this little army's moving in time, and when a couple of the battalions stop, it's sort of cool, and you get a flavor of what time is by having it stop. You know, and to me, I was in a big vacuum of spirituality since I was about 18 or 19, like a movement of trying, you know, but with the same failed system. I was going to do something. I was going to do and have myself into being, basically. Yeah, and I don't believe you can do and have yourself into being if you are the being you're trying to do and have yourself into. Yeah, if there was another being, maybe you could, yeah? And if it was in a location, and it was a certain size, and you could arrive there. But I humbly believe we are what we're looking for. So the doing and having, obviously, produces the opposite effect. It sort of causes an imaginary distance between us and us that seems to have to be, you know, gapped. We have to transcend or get over that. And then what happens is, when you get over the first bridge, it produces another bridge, in a sense, in a way. And then all the while in your wake is time. Time is being made. Yeah. So people believe they're hoping their life is heading towards an awakening, when in fact they're moving forward to awakening, will hopefully fail, and then there'll be a realization it's always been that way. So basically, they were trying to arrive at where they already were, And they still arrive there, but in a very long, drawn-out thing. They're going towards it, actually going away. But then the system fails. They just fuck it, and then it reveals, hey, it's always been this way, bro. So don't be, you know what I mean? All the guilt and shame for 20 years lost is just, you just get a real fucking break. And also, it's not a break with a huge consideration. No, it just changes that too. So you actually do accept that you're okay. Yeah, not as what I'm not, but as what I am. So what I'm not finds a very soothing place because it finally humbly knows it's not this. Yeah, on some level, it's like the clone knows it's a clone now. Yeah, there's nothing right or wrong with it, but it was a different when every time it heard it was a clone as a human. Now it just, hey, yeah, this is an action figure. It's got predilections. It connects to like a me cloud. A lot of downloads of programming and conditioning. When you meet a topic you've never experienced before, suddenly you have thousands of ideas about what that topic is, what you are, and relate. You'll see it. So then you just things hitting the me cloud, all little tape shit falls in, stuff like that, and then you're muddling. You've got some tendencies, a lot of degrees of difficulty. I just with a lot of people who are in a lot of degrees of difficulty. Yeah, and yet the natural ore of energy is perfectly pure. You can see it lift in a room full of crazy people. It's still, the energy is just as clean and clear as ever. There was no sullying of it. It's just sort of laying there, and then somehow in satsang you can come up. And the power is really fucking pretty awesome. And actually, in a weird way, I think the most production comes from the dirtiest coal, so to speak. I just do. I mean, the energies I'm sensing at some of the big recovery meetings, the juice is fucking like 180 proof. Really. Some of that refined shit is watered down a lot. This is just raw energy. So in a way, it just seems much more potent without all the refining. I wish I could share how it is when it's almost as if something's cooking something in the room. You see people, and then what's being cooked steams out, and then it's just like this big, fluffy, fucking, awe-inspiring, whatever. And if you looked at where you thought the source of it was, this person's fucked. This person's really fucked. This person's gonna be fucked. And yet, I mean, it's just, the elixir coming out is unbelievable. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if they know it or not. They've been served the spiritual subpoena because we're not talking to them. And then this isn't talking. Something goes through and it's communicating to itself. Yeah, and so the spiritual subpoena is served, and now maybe they go leave, but everyone gets a little bit of the intoxication. Really cool to me, and I have so much faith in that. If that little bit of light that's spinning in a bizarro way just gets taken out of that imaginary like counterclockwise spin, and then it starts going its clockwise spin, fucking things make fucking sense. Yeah. If you're going against the counterclockwise, then it would look like I got a lot of thought and effort. You're like in a wind tunnel. But if there's just a release and you start going with the flow, you see that statement in Zen and Faith Mind, hey, you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. You're totally on that. You're like, fuck, that's exactly what I was doing. I was going the way I thought it was going, but it was a corkscrew. It was going, it's not you're going that in, more out, you know, you're going, yeah. So of course it looks like a lot of thought and effort, because it is. You're slogging through imaginary shit. Because it's sort of like when you're flying to California from New York, it's like supposedly an hour more, because you run into headwinds where they're behind you when you come, yeah. So basically that's that. When you sit in a plane, you're like, I can feel the headwinds. You don't feel the headwinds, you know? You know what I mean? But that's what's seemingly happening. Time's slower, you get there longer. It's sort of like this, yeah. And the only thing that's stopping the possibility is not being entertained, really. That's the beauty of it, you know, is to hear possibilities. Because we hear a lot of possibilities rehashed and reinvigorated and reinvented and re-fucking treaded out, you know? But to hear other possibilities that are novel, that catch your mind in a way like, wow, I would have heard that. And to me, non-duality was that. Non-duality was the most disarming message. Now, it wasn't a call to arms. Every time I would attempt to do something, it would fucking laugh at me, really. I mean, it would be Jesus Christ, yeah. So it had a totally beautiful, novel idea, and what it begot was just serenity, contentment, and then really just this, the shutting down of that time engine of always improving and moving and trying to get somewhere. Because really, no one's gonna. I wasn't meditating 13 hours a day to keep my blood pressure down. I mean, I thought I was going somewhere, literally. I mean, or I wouldn't have done it. I thought I was going somewhere. I was getting something. Yeah, that drive is fucking strong. Yeah, to realize, and not in a fucking intellectual way, but to truly realize there's nothing to get, completely zip to get, is that will really slow down the time. It's just because most of your time is to improve and to arrive at and to get and to protect, whatever. You got a lot. It's sort of like living in a sandcastle next to the water. You know, the tide, fucking, it's just constantly, you're at attack, vigilance and all this and work. Yeah, it can be done with that, you know. You can incredibly improve without much thought and effort from Charlie or from Paul. Probably even more so. Yeah. Really. Not even look into it was probably the best growing. You want the miracle grow? It's your absence, really. The miracle grow you provide is by your absence. That's what sets the fucking thing off. So, yeah. I'm so happy to be home. Alright, so any questions? But I love recovery people. I do. Because they probably have the best O-R-E that I've ever seen mind, really. Because they have everything necessary. They know any life run on self-will not be successful. Yeah, they know so much, but it can't be put together. Yeah, they don't have, there's just a few pieces missing that will never connect. Yeah, but even like when I used to speak at Staten Island, I used to call it like Eckhart Tolle meets the Sopranos, you know. Now these guys, they could hit them so cleanly, but it couldn't gain traction in time, yeah, and in circumstances. But as a natural ore, they were awesome. Good, super, like kryptonite power. Yeah. So, hey, any questions?
You've never been tempted to offer non-recovering people a basis of the way of living?
Not in this format, no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's helpful to be helpful in non-duality. And I just stick to what's been revealed to me. I could be wrong, but I stick to it. Because I'd like to see people left with their own devices so that they see that they're not their own devices. While you're using your devices all day, you're never going to see if they're yours or not. You need to sort of have, nothing given so that you can't get, your little talons can go and then no, and you just keep getting nothing. I think that's the way to deliver non-duality, to tell you the truth. I really think so. And then if it, now they're synthesizing it into paths, that's all right. But it's that I would love to have really specific titles to certain things. So non-duality, I think, just means not two, really. Now, Advaita means something else, I think, oneness or whatever. But non-duality is not two, yeah? That's all it means. So basically, it's just questioning. It's not even questioning. It doesn't say not two, question mark. It's exclaiming not two. Yeah, it's like very definitive. It's not like question mark, maybe a couple of commas or dot, dot, dot. No, it's not two. So basically, it's negating subject-object. Yeah, and then duality is like a narration of it, or a perception of subject-object. And the dualism of subject-object is in us. It's as us. So sometimes you feel you're the thinker, sometimes you're thought about. Sometimes you're seen as an object, sometimes you're seen as the subject. Yeah, you think you're the doer, yeah, and then you look at yourself as you should have fucking done so much more. So the subject gets mixed with the object all day. And basically non-duality is just a negation of that. It's just saying there's not two. There is no subject-object. So obviously you're not those movements. It doesn't say what you are, it's just saying what you're not. It's just like we said in recovery. The person said, well, how can you tell what's self-will and what's God's will? I said, just realize what self-will is, and then you'll realize what God's will is. It's not self-will. So just recognize what it's not, and you'll know what it is. You know what I mean? So this is the whole, to me, that's the whole movement. It moves in a certain way of negation or, yeah. Not affirming, and not denying. Denying doesn't work. Denying is like, not two. Not two is just not two. It's observational. Yeah, you hear it, and then you see it. You see it in life. You like watching, and you're given the understanding, and it's the key. The mind is seeing, and now instead of just assuming the seeing implies a seer, it starts questioning the seeing. It starts questioning perception and going. Like it hears from the Course, projection and perception. Then it goes, wait a minute, yeah, that seems to be the case. There's a projection, and then this perceives it as if it's real. But that's the statement of dreaming. So dreaming is a projection, and then the dreamt sees it as real. Yeah. So it says projection first, then perception. We start at perception first, and then we're projecting on each other all day, other shit, like guilt and shit like that. But we don't get the sense of projection because we're identified. So we start at perception, and we believe that perceptions are true. They're valid. We don't believe they're manufactured. We think they're organic, and we believe we're perceiving a real place. Yeah, because we're missing a very important point: projection. Yeah. So you get an understanding, and then you start, instead of looking from that which is perceiving and taking everything real, you see the perceiving with this understanding. So now you're behind and you're seeing the perceiving from the projection, which gives you a whole, the information that downloads from that is totally different than the information that downloads from perception. Yeah? So now, and to me, the best way to categorize it would be dreaming. Yeah? So the perceiving is the dreaming. I'm dreaming, and the projection is that which is dreaming. Yes? And so, how can the perception be taken to be real if you are that which is dreaming? By seemingly forgetting that you're dreaming, by being identified as a thing or a dreamt. That's how I see it. That's how I see it happening in time. I see it's a magic trick. The dreaming is a magic trick. The dreaming seemingly, meaning it appears to the dreaming that it's the dreamt. It's never going to be the dreamt. It never was or will be. But it seems to it's a suggestion thought, And it goes, all right, hey, I'm the dreamt. And now suddenly that which it's dreaming is seen as real. And now that which it's giving all the meaning it has starts biting in its ass. Yeah, because now the thoughts that you gave meaning to, and from here as mine, now the thoughts own you. Yeah, the feelings own you. And your actions definitely tattoo you, don't they? Fucking this society do. Yeah, you bite someone, and 10 years of abuse is forgotten, and all they concentrate on is the bite. That's where law starts. That's where justice starts. That's fucking super short-sighted. Literally. You know what I mean? Fucking, so why is that so short-sighted? Because we're living in short-sightedness. We're thinking we're perceiving something that's real. I mean, we're out to fucking lunch. We have no idea what's going on here. And then we try to impose what we think is going on others, and try to beat them, browbeat them until they, but then as the Course says, we don't understand a word they're fucking telling me, I remember when I was young, I was going awry, so to speak. So a lot of older people who knew my parents, whatever, teachers and priests, would sit me down and start talking to me, and they would talk to me about all the things I'd have to do to get what they had, but I didn't want what they had. I was like, fucking, what they were teaching me was the exact opposite of what they thought to teach me. They were teaching me what I did not want to do, because I didn't want to end up where they were. I swear to God. I was like, fucking no way I'm going to do that shit. It's a good way to learn it. Learn what you don't want, and then maybe you'll find out what you want. Well, all right. Well, you're winning. We're all in this together. We're cooking it right now. We're making things that could seem to be so fucking out there, like ordinary, and that's the best way to sit with them. Not specialness, not fucking uniqueness, not transcendent, supreme knowledge, just fucking an awakeness, and allow the awakeness to observe through these eyes. Yeah, but the information will be collated differently than these eyes would. Yeah. It's going to look through the same camera, but it now knows it's not the camera. So it's going to interpret a lot more than the camera was interpreting. And a lot of it it's going to interpret is about the fucking camera. I was having absolutely no interpretation of it, other than you're a lousy camera, but never, you're not a camera, no. So yes, so now it's looking, it's seeing what it's not. I've never seen it, I've never had a sense of violence or fucking, it's just all inclusive. It's just more gets revealed. So it's seeming depth and width gets larger. So there's more that's being seen. And if you, anytime in a situation in this world, if you're right on top of it, you don't see a fucking thing. If you lift a little bit, more gets revealed. Just by what? The distance between you and it. So this is exactly what happens. The distance between what you are and what you're not. You're not bound or bonded. Yeah? Even though all the assumptions from this art is that it's so. It's always been so, but it's not. So now there's a lot more space between what you are in this dream, in this activity, and what you're not. Yeah? What you're not continues. It's sort of like a breath of 80 years. Yeah? It blows out, it exhales for 80 years. I would say most of the time there's no power in it. It was all the first idea. And now it's just dissipating, 80, 90 years of living. To that which breathed it out, it never fucking existed. Yes? It's just an appearance in it. Yeah. It's all, it doesn't have any resource, energy. It's just burning up like a comet does when it enters the atmosphere. It just burns up and you see a tail. Yeah. Yeah. We all have our histories. They're just burning up behind us. Untouched by it all. You really think, do you meet a guardian of the gate when you go to sleep that checks out your fucking papers? No, you've gnawed out, you've gone completely. There's no fucking gates you've got to go through. Yeah, just fall asleep. If you never woke up, would you have known this ever was so? Of course not, because you don't know it's so when you're sleeping, do you? It's the same. You have all the information. There's no difference in dreaming at night and dreaming. This is just the awake dreaming. And the awake dreaming has a part of it the asleep dreaming doesn't have when it's seen from the awake dreaming. The awake dreaming says, that's dreaming. And then it gives itself another meaning. But if we woke up from this, from here, that's dreaming. What? Oh yeah. It's awake dreaming, it's dreaming. You just have to lift up a little and see. What can stop you from lifting up, John? What? Nothing. Just lack of possibility. That's all it is. Yeah? If you didn't know you had something in your house, you can probably never use it. So then someone tells you, hey, you got 800 channels. Oh, well, what? Yeah. You just start playing around. All you need to do is hear a possibility. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you have it. And we keep repeating it and repeating and repeating it. And we never leave this point because it's pointless to. If you are what you're looking for, you got to question that looking for. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go eat, eh?